Token Metrics is a cryptocurrency investment platform that helps users leverage machine learning to become better crypto investors. Our in-depth analysis helps eliminate the emotions of investing, find profitable investment opportunities, and filters out scams. Learn more at tokenmetrics.com.
We are live. Surprise. This is the market update, live from Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Bill Noble. This show is brought to you by tokenmetrics.com. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. If you've been listening to the wrong people, subscribe to this channel. Turn on the alerts bell so you know when we're going live, particularly in a storm. And of course, if you like the content, please hit that thumbs up button. We are trying to get to 1,000 likes, 1,000 likes on a stream. So do it. And then I'm going to give you a reason why you should do it. Okay? Because today, I'm going to not only talk about charts, but I'm going to speak from the heart, and I'm going to speak from a place of what I would call Wall Street history. So not just my stories necessarily, but the stories of the market wizards. All right. Now, let's see who we got going on here. We have, right, Alith Crypto, welcome. Rob, right? Hi, Chase, TR, William Gunter, welcome. Chicago is here. India, see, we didn't make you stay up all night, right? Akim Holland, right? California, right? Orlando is here. Malaysia, okay? Somebody's saying very early. Yes, very early, all right? Okay, Andre, all right? Yes, hi, all right? All right. Somebody says we'll listen anytime. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. All right. We have all kinds of people coming in, right? London, Luxembourg, Middle East, Edmonton. Still upset about those Oilers. All right. I know. But that's a proud hockey franchise, right? And I'm going to talk about how to be, or how I remember the proud hedge fund managers from when I started in this business. Boston, London, Bradford, England. Okay. SEC on the hunt. We'll talk about it. Jamal from the UPS truck. Okay. Downtown Austin, Texas. Syracuse, New York. Romania is here. All right. Now, let's get to your market update. Let's do it. All right. Now, the first thing we got to do is we got to go over the news. Okay? Let's go over the news. So, there's a bill passed that gives the CFTC, okay? So, let's start with regulation. Now, the crypto-friendly senators have come out and said, okay, we're going to do some regulation, right? We're not going to run around and calling this and that a security, right? We're going to let the market kind of trade. But we're going to give the CFTC leeway to where if the CFTC doesn't like what you're doing, you ain't doing it anymore. So all the rug pulls and all the BS is over. Seriously. And I'm going to go through the exact quote, right? And one of the reasons I'm going to do it in a minute after I just give you the general news is to tell you that sometimes it takes the market 24 hours to figure things out. Like the Bank of Japan prints money, right? Overnight, the market pumps. Everyone was covering shorts yesterday before I went to dinner at 6 o'clock Central Time. And I come home right? Asia opens and goes, we're selling this. It took the market 24 hours to figure it out. So now I'm going to give you 24 hours to figure out what this means. Okay. Now, US Probes Binance over token that is now the world's 5th largest. So I guess from a pure crypto maximalist point of view, you can say that the government's been dying to get CZ, or somebody has. That's a little cynical, but you do have to ask yourself, is Binance immune from all the problems that everyone else has? Let's just put it simply as that, right? In other words, the SEC is not happy, right? So they're going to say, okay, like, who are we not happy with, and how can we send a message? Well, they're sending a message to Binance today. Now, this is actually, I think, the real kind of black swan. So this is a tweet, okay, from like an anonymous source, okay, but it's getting around, that basically says the following, okay? Project creators of top 200 projects, from yield farming to stable coins to market makers, purposefully designed their projects to basically rob from the poor and give to the rich, or rob from the late and give to the early. And supposedly this guy has massive aggregated Telegram messages showing all this. Okay. And then there's also discussion that influencers were involved. So, hey, we're going to make this project, and hey, we want you to go out and talk about it. Right. So it looks like a classic Wall Street case of what I call men behaving badly. There's Bernie Madoff. There's insider trading. There was Michael Milken back in the 80s. Every once in a while, you find out that there's bad guys, a lot of bad guys. And when they get caught, okay, it can impact the market. Right? So if you got regulators on the hunt, and whoever this is trying to issue some sort of like gotcha moment, all right, and then it gets kind of worse when they're talking about like real behaving badly. So we organized a project to take money from the poor and give it to the rich. And then we went out and we did all kinds of bad stuff, right, on private jets. And it sounds like a Jeffrey Epstein type of scenario. So if investors were set up to lose from the beginning, and then these people allegedly went out and behaved badly, it literally is a merge between Bernie Madoff's massive Ponzi scheme and some sort of behavioral issue like an Epstein. So that's at least what the Twitter thread is trying to point at. Now, let's pretend for a moment that everything we just talked about would be ignored in an up market. The thing is, folks, it's not an up market. It's been down 8 weeks in a row. Okay. And as I've pointed out, even though I had the market call on the way down, and I mapped out like June 7th would be a top based on GAN and all that stuff on my Twitter, right? Who cares? What really matters is, am I brave enough for the third time to suggest that when the market was down, it still has the potential to crack? Because every time I've done that, I've wound up getting hosed by the Bank of Japan over a weekend. Am I brave enough to do it again? So that leads me to the market update. Okay. To your market update, where I'm going to say, like the zombie movie, I Am Legend. What would a legend like Soros, Druckenmiller, Tudor, right? All of these big hedge fund managers, Like if they were in my shoes, what would they do? So for today, do I want to think about some, do I want to think like a modest YouTube guy? Like I'm on a panel today at the Central because Altcoin Daily got double booked. So am I a second string influencer in my head, or am I a market wizard? Or do I demonstrate why the artist drew me as Notorious Bill? Do you want to be in the market wizard's book, or do you want to be just some guy? Well, you're going to find out where I stand on that in a minute. Because if I was a macro hedge fund, if I was big and I saw this and I was tracking this, I would be like, you know what? People don't understand what's going on here. And what we're going to do is we're going to unload on this thing. Nobody wants to be short. Everyone's afraid to be short. Remember that from April? We're going to take advantage of the fear of being short when it's down, and we're just going to unload on it and see if it cracks. Because I don't know how much more negative it can get when you have the technical analysis potentially from 1929. You have men behaving badly, really badly, and regulators coming out with laws on top of that. And then you've got problems at Binance. So if I was a legend, what would I do? Let's get into the charts. So let's read this from the Bitcoin Magazine article. The legislation grants the CFTC exclusive spot market jurisdiction over all fungible assets which are not securities, including ancillary assets. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're going to stop running around and calling everything a security. And we're going to give the CFTC leeway to say, you know what, you with that project and that coin, no. Exchanges will need to register with the CFTC to conduct trading activities and will need to abide by rules in terms of customer protection and the prevention of market manipulation and information sharing. Okay? So, again, the CFTC says, oh, you're a man behaving badly, or you're a person behaving badly, or you're a project behaving badly, or we suspect you're a project behaving badly. Done. The CFTC will be allowed to charge a small fee on digital asset exchanges to cover increased costs to the agency. Now you're like, okay, that doesn't mean anything. But did you know that regulators fund themselves by fining big Wall Street banks? They think you're behaving badly? Oh, they'll fine you. You don't like it? They don't care. This is why in big banks you have, ridiculously tight compliance. You have compliance and legal. They're going to apply these structures to crypto. And I don't think anyone gets what this means, right? Because they think, oh, well, they're going to be chill about it. They're not going to call everything a security. You're right. They're not. They're going to stop focusing on that, and they're going to stop, right? They're going to stop the rich from robbing the poor. Now, let's talk about macroeconomics. So the Williams oscillator down at the bottom of the chart on the DXY Daily chart speaks for itself, right? Every time the DXY gets in this kind of consolidation, we don't know if it's going to go up or down, right? It looks just like it did back in January. So if the dollar's about to go up a lot, how much is a lot? Well, it could go up from 102 to 108. Now you're like, oh, well, that's not really that big of a move. Yeah, well, when, the dollar started going up in January, that's when risk assets went straight down. So if we're about to do a repeat and I was a legend, then I'm just like, all right, let's just simplify this. Let's forget the whole story about the Bank of Japan and all that stuff I explained yesterday. Right. I went to dinner with somebody and I re-explained it. And some guy was honest enough to say, Bill, you get this, but everyone else doesn't. I'm like, all right, that's good. So let's just look at the dollar chart. Everyone's telling me this can't go up, and it's going up. And there's all kinds of reasons for it to go a lot higher. So if the dollar's a lot higher, what does that mean for crypto? Binance Coin. Okay. So Binance Coin news comes out and it's down, but it's not like it's blowing up. But if I do the hidden pivot analysis on it, if it's below 288, it can go to 238. And I was in such a hurry to get this chart up here that I didn't even put up what the ultimate downside target in this thing could be. Because the SEC can't go after Binance itself. It's an international entity. But Binance Coin is everywhere. So do you think the regulators don't have a plan here? Oh, yeah, they have a plan. They're over certain things, right? They're over it. Now, this may be hard to see, but focus on the blue lines. So the blue line is actually a weekly chart from 2014. The last time we kind of saw this market go down only, right? And we're exiting a period from 2014 where the market went down and then went sideways and then boom, right? So we're actually in a period because what I did is, as kind of like a filler, I put the Bitcoin 8-hour chart so we could watch how it behaved intraday, right now, versus what would happen weekly. So this looks like in 3 weeks, the market can go down, up, down, which is what we've talked about, right? And the down part, based on the 2014 chart, may be just getting started. So you're like, wow, the market's down. Okay, yeah. And it hasn't paid to sell it when it's down. Okay. But if this is like Bitcoin in 2014, this could just crack. And if you look at the news flow, regulation, men behaving badly, rob from the poor to give to the rich by design, where's this thing going? Right? Everybody has got to liquidate. The collateral inside the system gets liquidated, period. People who think they're safe aren't. You're not safe from the CFTC. You're not safe from a systemic men behaving badly. Okay, now just for laughs, we have equities today versus 2008, right? Because everything is okay and you can hide in S&P, right? Somebody told me last night that the famous bars in Austin on 6th Street, which is like the Bourbon Street of Austin, some of these bars are going to get torn down in favor of more 60-story condo units. Remember, rob from the poor and give to the rich? Do you think the Federal Reserve wants that? Do you think Joe Biden wants that? No. I did some tweet this morning. Some guy's like, oh, it's clear this market cannot handle any more rate hikes, or never mind quantitative tightening where the Fed's draining money out of the market. Markets can't handle that. Well, that might be true. But the thing is, do the central banks care? And if you have the central banks come out on this CPI number and make it kind of clear that they want markets down and you've got men behaving badly in crypto, oh my God. I mean, if I was a legend, I would just be like, you know what? If this thing goes down and I'm not on it, then I'll never sleep again, right? If I saw it and I saw it 24 hours before everyone got it and I didn't get on this, then I'm not a market wizard. I'm just some guy. I'm just some YouTuber. I don't want to be just some YouTuber. And I don't want you to get wrecked. So today, normally it's about you. Today, it's about me and you. Who do I want to be, right? I want to be the guy that helps you. But I also want to be the guy like Tudor Jones that's not afraid to say it, even though he got hosed 2 times before. Now, this ETH wave count, speaking of getting hosed, right? Down, up, down, up, down, up. Time to give up, right? Tired, over it. That's what 2 waves do, right? They chop and stop, right? Chop and stop, chop and stop. Everyone stopped out. I mean, yesterday, I mean, it looked like it was going to the moon at the end of the day. Everyone stopped out. And then the second that happens, boom, it's down. Right? Seriously. Because what? Like, I'm the only one that know that these artificial pumps on Sunday night, they're not artificial. That's because of somebody else's monetary policy. That's going to get unwound. And then all of a sudden, you got this wave count showing a big 3 waves going to get started with all this news flow. Who do you want to be? I just revised the ETH roadmap, right? I was thinking down into June 14th, then some sort of bounce, and then down again into between July 4th and July 14th. I'm just like, why can't they just do it all now? Like, why not? Or why can't they just do it in like 3 weeks? Why can't it be like down, right? Down, bounce, down, down, down. You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't they just take it down? Take it to a level where no one will short it and then just really kill it. Right? In other words, as all this news regulation gets unpacked, right? And you got an inflation number in the middle of this. So in equities, when we would look at say, okay, should we do a trade or should we not do a trade? We would say, all right, what are the catalysts? Like, is an earnings release coming up or, so you got macro catalysts, central banks, regulators, and men behaving badly. So if the market's not going down off that and these charts, right? Because we talked about ETH spending, 30 days below the big range, just like it spent 30 days above the big range back in 2021. So if we're going to spend 30 days below 1,700, what's that going to look like? Well, my answer is it could be worse than what I was thinking about yesterday. Because now, instead of using my imagination, now I got news behind it. Okay, the next big question is, from a technical analysis point of view, where is support? Like, okay, so the market's in a range, and that's a really uninteresting live stream to say, hey, the market's in a range, and we're now at the bottom of the range, and a flock of them flew over last time, and I'm going to go to Decentral and talk about NFTs, and that's okay. I don't have to get up at 5 in the morning because no one cares. Well, I care. Where is support? Is it at 1,700? Or on this ETH chart, if you draw some like very, kind of outside the box fib lines, maybe it's at 1,273. Now, okay, I say that number and it doesn't mean anything to you. I get it. Because people can't get there psychologically, all right? But does that mean that if people start panicking that it can't go there? Like, the question of where is support really begins with, will people start panicking, and when will they start panicking? So will they? We don't know that. When would they start panicking? Well, 24 hours after they digest this news, and then after the inflation number, potentially. Even if the inflation number is okay and it doesn't rally. In other words, if the inflation number bad, it's down. If the inflation number is meh and it doesn't go up, then that's what can trigger panic. And if panic gets triggered, where does it go? Like Solana. Like, I drew these things in Solana on a log chart. I'm like, Solana's at 37, and where can it go? Well, how about back to where it started? I mean, speed, magnitude, and direction. What goes up a certain way can come down a certain way. It's as simple as that. The question is, where is support? In other words, the question for anybody with a portfolio is, or even a short seller, is if it got started, which of course is an if, right? Because I'm not being an arrogant ass. But if it gets started, where would it stop? Where would it stop? It stops when the last guy's out. June 14th, July 14th. Why can't they do this whole thing in 4 weeks? Or moreover, what could they do in 4 weeks? Avalanche, same thing, right? I mean, it's trading at 25. if you look at a log chart, is it really down that much? Or can this thing go right back where it came from? I'm going to talk today about what it takes to get crypto adoption and get people involved in Web3. Okay, well, I'll give you the answer now. How about we make it super cheap for somebody to buy an NFT? Or to buy metaverse land? Or to go into metaverse and go shopping for digital assets? Okay, so is Joe Public with $10 gas? Joe Public with $10 gas going to go out and pay $1,700 for ETH plus gas to go in and buy himself a video of LeBron James dunking? No. Word has it from a reliable source that mopeds, which are like, low gasoline, they don't consume a lot of gasoline. They're being stolen by cartels and being sold through unofficial channels because people don't care. They need low expense transportation. They need cheap transportation. They need to be able to get around on 1 or 2 gallons of gas, or they don't get around. So everyone's like, oh, well, how do we get everyone involved in Web3? Well, that's easy. You just mark everything down. No one wants to hear that, which is why I need to say it. Because part of what I do here is tell people nicely what they don't want to hear. Especially if, and I don't do that for sport because it's not the path to popularity, right? But you look at this Avalanche chart and you go, okay, well, Avalanche is a great project, right? It's a great project. They got all kinds of technological innovations. Okay, so how do we get everybody to want to get into Avalanche? Do we charge them $150? Do we charge them $25? Or do we charge them $3? Right? Do we charge them $3? Because if we charge them $3 or we charge them $10, and they'll be like, oh, wow, look at all the cool things I can do on Avalanche. They don't have to read the white paper, or they don't have to be a sophisticated investor to go, ooh, cool. I can get in and play. Like, iPhone, right? iPhone's $1,500. Okay. How do people get iPhones? Well, they broke it down into $25 a month payments. So you could get one and pay it off over 2 years. And the next thing you know, the whole world's got an iPhone. Well, how do you do that with layer ones or anything that goes on a layer one? Well, I don't think you can do a payment plan on a coin. So you got to mark it down so people can consume it. Right? Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about the future of money. Let's talk about physics. I didn't even see this until today. Do you realize that there was a 3-week period in 2021 where Bitcoin went from 19K to 42K in 3 weeks? Right? That was like the Michael Saylor thing. Like, there was this guy was like, I don't care. It's the 2017 high at 20K. Everyone's like, ooh, it's resistance. Michael Saylor's like, I don't care. I'm buying. Whoosh. Explodes. Everybody piles into Bitcoin. Bitcoin just mooned in 3 weeks. Okay. So we went from 19 to 42 in 3 weeks. We did a $20,000 rally. Okay. So we're talking about between now and July 14th, kind of. So are you going to tell me that you can go up $20,000 in 2 weeks, but you can't go down $20,000 in 2 weeks? Because that's an inconvenient fact? I mean, just there's a whole bunch of stuff on this chart. There's resistance at 31,400. There's support at 20K for obvious reasons. There's a head and shoulders target at 14. And then there's this idea of what happens if you do what you did in 2021. Up 20, down 20. Like, do you need to be a technical analyst to see this? I don't know. Right? But if I was a legend, I'd be like, well, let me get this straight. I could risk this much and have Bitcoin vaporize in a condensed period of time. Condensed period of time. If I was a legend. If I was a legend, would I care, even if I didn't know anything about crypto? It's like, here's the chart, right? Here's what happened in 1929, and here's the news flow. What do you want to do? Well, let's unload on it and see if it cracks. And then when they figure it out in 24 hours, we've already unloaded on them. Like Michael Saylor in reverse. Michael Saylor was like, I don't care, I'm taking it. What happens if the big hedge funds go, you know what? Or some hedger, like, you know, somebody has to hedge, Saylor, Musk, anybody who owns this. What happens if they just say, oh my God, we got to unload? It can't happen in reverse? Come on. Okay, so this, I call this the okay bro chart. The okay bro table. So ARK is an ETF that covers stocks. They don't really have any earnings. You know, it went way up and way down. It's made by Cathie Wood. It's essentially the future of the world, or the companies of the future that aren't making money now, right? And we also don't know if they are the companies of the future. Everybody doesn't win long term. All right. So ARK is a speculative instrument, the altcoins of the equity market. And that instrument is, I don't know, 62% below where it was 1 year ago. Now, if ETH, Web3, or so we are told, if ETH was 62% below where it was roughly 1 year ago, that puts ETH at 1,000. So what is the difference between the altcoins of the stock market and the altcoin of the equity market? I'm sorry, and the altcoin of the crypto market? What is the difference? It's an open question. So this is where I'm reverting back to sort of like intellectual curiosity, right? I'm throttling back on the whole notorious market legend thing. Okay, MicroStrategy. Okay, Michael Saylor's company. This is a little easier to get. Michael Saylor's company, they do software and they do Bitcoin, and they're leveraged. They're leveraged. So a year ago, the stock was at 472. And as of yesterday, it was at 235. I don't even know where it is now. So it's kind of lost half its value, right? It's down 50%. So a year ago, Bitcoin was at like 29K. And if Bitcoin caught up with MicroStrategy, it would be at 19,000. And is $20,000 Bitcoin really that hard to imagine? Really? It's not. So the lower ARK goes, the lower MicroStrategy goes, if you have an equity market problem, the downside targets in crypto just keep moving lower. Or actually, not the downside targets, but the theoretical levels, right? If this is like that, then crypto should be trading here. So if ETH and ARK is not a good comparison, you don't have to worry about it. But I don't understand how MicroStrategy and Bitcoin cannot be a good comparison. Okay, let's talk about something good. You're like, all right, Bill, I got it. Enough. Okay, you've done this to me before. I got all bearish. I shorted with the rent money, and then it rallied in your face. Now, it eventually went back down, but, you know, how many times can we go through this with you? Okay. So let's talk about something good. Today could be a 13 bottom on the ETH daily chart. Okay. So if the market just sits here, the market might stop going lower, right? If the guys don't come in, if the big funds don't come in and try to break this thing, then ETH could just try to bottom. Now, the alternative thesis is that, yes, it's a 13 bottom, but where does the 13 bottom occur? Does it occur at 1,700, or does it occur at materially lower levels, right? Because we got all day today, right? And we got a couple days, right? So the 13 is not always the exact bottom. So if ETH is going to bottom, where is the bottom? Is it now, or is it somewhere else with all these catalysts and CPI coming out? So it's okay to say ETH might bottom, but the question begs, where is support? Where does it stop? It either stops now, or we have to go into like this price discovery mode. Okay? So 13 is a signal that it's either over or that you have to start looking for signals that it's over. Okay. Now, ETH has got support at 1752. ETH is doing a dance around that level. You would expect that. If 1752 holds, then it's a 1750, 2000 range. And, you probably didn't need to watch any part of this live stream after the news. But if 1752 doesn't hold, then you're looking at 1566. So, the support levels in ETH, every time ETH breaks a level, it could start losing $200 at a clip. So again, could it be a flash crash? Could it be a panic liquidation? Or are we done today? And that is the market update. Okay, let's see what we got going on in the chat. Okay, Mike Ski, everything is going lower, 227. All right. Okay, somebody says, I'm not a wizard, okay? And he likes my TA, and he thinks I have a good reputation, and I appreciate that, okay? I appreciate that. All right, a couple guys talking about 14K, okay? Some people talking about AVAX, all right? Stairs up, elevator down. Good point, okay? Good point. Somebody says, Bob Marsh, perfect storm. Donato says, whistleblower, what? Okay. So let's take a look at what the market is doing right now. Like, let's say, all right, is there any evidence to support this idea that if they wanted to, they could unload on it? Like, will they do that? Okay. So let's try to look at, say, like a 90-minute chart. Let's see if there's any reason. Okay. So there's the 13 bottom I talked about on the daily. Okay. And here's the 90-minute chart. Okay. So ETH goes down and no one wants to be short down here, so they take it back up. Okay. So, this doesn't look like anyone wants to unload on it. It doesn't look that way. But you see, there's a level here on the ETH 4-hour chart at 1776. So this goes back to what I was talking about yesterday. Everybody probably knows there's support at 1750. But people may not know that there's like resistance at 1776. So what happens if you get the failed rally? Right? So now we're like, as bear markets get more complicated, all those things that we set up before, right? Like yesterday, they turned their back on the bear. This morning was fear of being short. And now we're looking for a failed rally. Because, if I was going to unload on this thing, I'd wait until people thought it was okay. Right? Like, let people think it's okay. Now, maybe it is. Maybe you don't unload on it. But if you were going to do that, you want to make sure, if you're going to throw the knockout punch, you want to make sure that you got it wobbling. Okay. So enough of that, right? So again, it's at 1780. It's coming back, and nobody really has any interest in selling it when it's down. No one wants to sell it when it's down. Now let's take a look at what's going on, say, in the macro world. So dollar yen is up again, right? That's why the dollar index is moving up, because the yen does nothing but go down. Okay. Stocks were down, but they're back up again, right? They're back up again. So this is another thing we didn't talk about, is like, what can save crypto? What saves crypto? Well, stocks, right? Stocks save crypto. If crypto's not going to break, It's because stocks can't go down, right? And the good news is for crypto this morning is that not only is ARK up, which is good, but the bond market's rallied. So yesterday they killed bonds. Oh my God. And now they're bringing it back. All right. So what's kind of like the bottom line here? Like what point can I drive home? If it is all right, then no harm done, right? So if it just goes back up to the top end of the range, then it's just a bunch of FUD that no one cares about. But if everyone expects it to go back to the top end of the range and things sink in, one thing that we've demonstrated on this stream is that it takes a day for it to sink in. So if you got short yesterday, you're going to cover today. You're going to cover. Because, oh, wow, I made 6% overnight. Boom, cover. Support held, and I'll sell it if it breaks support. Well, if it breaks support, you won't be able to sell it. So either we're in a range and I just entertained you for 30 minutes, or as you watch this later or you let this sink in, you got to ask yourself, do I need to protect my portfolio? Do I need to engage in tax loss selling? Okay. Am I safe in what I am currently think I'm safe in? Does the Fed care about capital markets? Or does the Fed care about inflation? There's good momentum to the upside on equities because it's been going up. But if that suddenly changes, what happens to crypto? So if nothing's changed, crypto's in a range. If something changes, it would appear that risk assets can be like, hey, wait a minute. We thought this was okay, and it's not. So before you dismiss anything as FUD, or before you say, okay, this doesn't matter, okay, again, what happens if things change? Okay. How will Bill affect this if Bill passes? It's a bull run. Okay. Billionaire Faith says that. Okay. So the SEC is saying that the Binance Coin ICO could have been like a security unto itself. Okay. Now, there's the Ethereum merge. There's a 13 bottom in ETH. So the way it's kind of been at the bottom of the range is that the one bullish signal trumps the fact that there's lack of support. So that's the good news. So let's end it on a good note, right? The bottom in ETH is somewhere between now and, I don't know, the 14th of June. The question is, what level does it bottom at? Right? And if you were a legend, what would you be doing? Would you say, oh yeah, this is too cheap and everyone's too bearish? Which is possible because they did that in equities and it worked. Or would you be like, hey, this thing could break. And if it broke, where would it go? These are the things that you have to ask yourself about your own portfolio, right? What kind of investor do you want to be? How do you want to manage risk? And as an analyst, it's like, am I going to tell you the way it is like I usually do? Or am I going to give you insight into the minds of the people who could just through regular trading, not market manipulation, they're just going to trade like Luna, right? We still don't know who did that, but somebody took advantage of a known vulnerability and boom, right? Now, the crypto market has a different vulnerability. There's regulation. There's the questionable collateral. There's what happens if everybody has to hedge their Bitcoin. So I will leave these things up to you to think about it. I'm hoping this video has a shelf life of more than one day. So rather than go, oh yeah, it's bearish and it's going to tank, based on this crystal ball timer, I'm leaving you with a question rather than an answer. What happens if this thing breaks? If it doesn't break, who cares? But what happens if it does? Where does it stop? And what do you do? Most important, right? A legendary analyst would give you a plan or tell you have to make one, right? If you don't have a plan and you own digital assets, you better get a plan in a hurry. All right. So I'm here at Consensus, right? People are paying hundreds of dollars a night for a hotel room. The conference is in 3 different buildings, and I smell FOMO. Just to give you a footnote. I suspect that the down move hasn't changed anybody's mind about anything. Now, of course, we're not going to change our mind about the future of crypto, but I don't see people acting like this thing could break. Okay? So that's anecdotal evidence. If I was a legend, what would I do? What would I say? All right. And that, folks, is the market update. Hit the like button, share it with your friends. I never say that, and I'm telling you to share this one. Because if I'm wrong, who cares? But if I'm right and you got 24 hours, hit the like button, share it. And all this week throughout Consensus, because I got to speak and I got to go to things, right? Make sure you got that alerts bell and that subscription on, right? Get that alerts bell so you know when we're going live, right? Final word from the epilogue. I don't want to be right about this. I don't. I want the market to bottom at 1750 so I can go to the conference and learn things and then give you that alpha. Okay? But as one trader who taught me, everyone likes it tidy. Everyone wants the market to stop while they go to a conference. Okay? Everyone wants it to be tidy, and it never is. So let's hope it holds, but let's be ready if it doesn't. All right? That is the market update. That is the epilogue. I'm done. I appreciate your viewership. If you've been listening to the wrong people, start listening to the right one. All right? This is Bill Noble. I'll see you tomorrow.